and demand. It's called free market capitalism. Okay, that's what it is. It's not consumerism. It's just understanding what happened to the VCR and why that is, because we learn easier and easier methods to produce. So when you inject competition into that mix, what you're going to see is prices keep going down. But they've got people, confused. They think, well, if somebody's selling less of something, then they got to charge more just so that they stay in business. That's not capitalism. That's crony capitalism. That's market manipulation. That's fascism. That's price fixing. That's collusion. That's special interest groups working together. But it's not capitalism. Capitalism, what it brings you is the VCR. That should have happened in housing and food and on and on. Okay, energy and automobiles and all kinds of electronics and clothing and everything else. So in other words, you don't need more money. You don't need pay adjustments, pay raises, cost of living adjustments. Your currency should automatically go up in worth if we're making any progress on the social economic front. In terms of reality, if we're really working within the bounds of reality. Because there's no excuse, like I pointed out last week, for poverty to exist anywhere in the world now. Okay, virtually overnight, we could end people drinking polluted water that's unfit and getting cholera or some other disease from the water they're drinking. Almost overnight. I mean, people, oh, well, how much money? Where's the money going to? Look, folks, put that aside. Like I said, if you solve the problem, it's much cheaper than maintaining the problem. Okay, but there's all these people who want to not only maintain the problem, but grow the problem because they profit. Because there's psychopaths at the top that want humanity dead anyhow. They want the herd thinned, cull the herd, okay, kill it. Because there's just too many of us in their estimation, but they don't offer to kill themselves. You notice that, right? And they're big fat hypocrites. And these are the ones that suppress clean energy technology, that are opposed to disruptive technologies, that prescribe to this planned obsolescence world where everything gets outmoded and outdated. You got to go buy new stuff all the time. They build stuff so it breaks. So it actually uses more energy and pollutes the earth more. These are who these people are. They try to sell us their agenda. So they've got us all confused. People just don't understand. You've got to clear the slate, and just take a bird's eye view of this thing and think way out of the box to try to understand what I'm trying to convey here. Because it really is, at the end of the day, it's very simple. You see the threat, though, because these people need people in fear in order to keep their position, in order to not be rendered irrelevant. They need to extract their pound of flesh. Their perverted form of reverence is this fear of the people, and that's through monetary means. And if they didn't have that power over humanity to oppress them, monetarily oppress them, and actually to the point where people are dying, they're very fearful. Yes, they're scared of their masters because they don't want to be homeless. So they want to hoard. They want to save lots of numbers. They want to prescribe to this social economic system, whether it's witting or unwitting. That's what's going on here. Is people are subconsciously, semi-consciously, we're prescribing to this social Darwinian system by this urge to want to save. I mean, look. Let's be clear. When I say, money is for spending and lives are for saving, I mean that. I really do. We shouldn't have to worry about saving up. But I know that in this day and age, it's very prudent. People think, save. Well, it would make sense if you could save enough money to go out and buy a house and not have to take out a loan. It'd be much cheaper. You'd save 2/3 of the overall cost over 30 years on a loan. But how many people are able to even not spend everything they make, much less save anything? Okay, most people spend everything they make and then some, right? Aren't most people like running debt? So, I mean, that's a lot to ask these days. That's a lot of saving. And then you can't forget to be a giving person. When you're able to save anything at all, you've got to pay your tithe. I mean, even if you're not saving, even if you do spend everything you make, you've still got to pay a tithe. This is written in the Bible. I mean, the poor would be missing a huge blessing if they didn't pay a tithe. You've got to give to those that have less than you. They're having a more difficult time contending with these evil overlords than you. All of us have to take that mindset and be blessed for doing that. And we are blessed. It's just doing what God said. It takes that cheapskate spirit out of it. And it turns our hearts and minds to these people that are, they fit in less to this evil system than us. And that's not a bad thing. Somebody that's taken a vow of poverty, I mean, the system's disgusting. It's a rigged game. I don't want to play. I don't want prosperity until I see poverty drying up, man. I got to at least see the wound on the collective body of humanity bound up where it's hemorrhaging, and that's on our citizens, our brothers and sisters. Native American sons and daughters. Anybody born in America is a Native American in my mind. Okay, they're dying out on the street. When I see an end to that, then I'll concern myself with greater prosperity. In the meantime, I'm disgusted at the notion, the prospect of saving. Okay, hoarding really, and then and then what? I'm dead tomorrow, and I save a few pennies, and you know what? I leave it to my kids, and they squander it. Or, it just the whole thing just sucks the way it is. Okay. But again, I digress, and I just want to be very clear why your currency would naturally, without being forced, go up in worth, and how that would end poverty. Okay, so this is what we really, Donald wants to understand, and he does. I mean, the guy's really smart, but we'll see what he can do because there's going to be a lot of resistance. And I think he's a good guy. I think that, he really realizes that, making billions and billions, if he was, worth $1 trillion, it's not going to be all that fulfilling. I mean, sure, his family thinks he's great and people marvel over, the business genius and all this of Donald Trump. But, he understands he's just a man like everybody else. He's a sinner, and his life is like a flash in the pan, and that he wants to do something. He feels like this is his way to heaven. He's come out and said that, and he's probably right. Just like Jesus saying, look, it's harder for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, metaphorically, than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. So he kind of, maybe he really, that sunk in, and God's touching him. God's saying, you know what, I'm appointing you, I'm anointing you to go forth and do this thing. Even though it might get you killed, and a lot of people think that's it. He's probably going to get killed before he's even inaugurated, and Obama's going to stay in office for a short period, and then God knows what. But, things are hairy, and they might get hairier. I mean, the only thing I'm holding my breath for is the return of Jesus. So at the end of the day, I got to remember that. If Donald Trump is assassinated, I can't my world's not going to come crashing down. It's just that this is where we are in history. People are sick and tired of putting up with evil people, running their lives, running roughshod over them, creating the policies they have to live under. They don't want to be oppressed. People don't want to be poor. People want to be prosperous. They want to be secure. They want to be free. It's not difficult to understand. So people need to be endowed. They need to be given stuff, Not necessarily by the government, but the government can't have its cake and eat it too. They can't tell a poor homeless person, look, you can't just camp out here. They've got to say where you can camp at least, permanently, and build shelter. And if they want say so in the building department, because they got to make these shelters safe under code and all this crap, then you need to assist them, You need to help people, Come to their assistance. And remember, once the problem is solved, it's not going to be a drain on the system, and it's not going to be a burden on you in terms of taxes always having to go up to feed rich dad, So he can amass a fortune of riches that are just going to rot anyhow. I mean, what if Jesus does come back tomorrow? We don't know when it's going to happen. He said it's going to come like a thief in the night, and I see that with myself. Maybe that's what I'm missing. Maybe I'm not seeing the forest for the trees, just how imminent his blessed return is. We don't know. It could be before Donald Trump's inauguration. It could be today. It could be tomorrow. But I need to be ready for my riches are right. You had a chance to give all that stuff away to the poor and get your great blessings, the gladness of heart that goes with it. And, and all that I have is yours, my son, and all this stuff that the Father is pouring out to all of us every day. I could have given all my possessions away. And look what I did. I didn't do it. So, I mean, I'm standing here just as convicted as everybody else. I want out of this thing. This is why I so want everybody to be prosperous. I want everybody to drive the car of their dreams, maybe 2 or 3. Hell, we could have warehouses where we could pick a new one and drop one off anytime we want. We could have it our way, humanity's way, all of our way. It's our planet. That's our God. We're his children. And he wants us the best for us. That's what's logical, reasonable, sensible to assume, presume, about God. Is that if a parent is that way, then how much better is God? God made a parent to be generous and loving toward their children, to want the best for them, to want prosperity and security and safety and freedom and liberty, right? So it's only logical to say that's from God. That's a godly instinct of the heart and mind and spirit, that the soul, that we want to go out and we want to be all that we can be. So so if you end poverty, I just touched on the people that would be out of work in the social welfare system, and how so many of the status quo, landlords, property management, investors, all these kind of people, they would feel threatened because they know the rents are going to go down. Once, if you solve a problem like that, nobody's living in fear. You see, you're not going to extract those exorbitant rents and mortgages from people. Okay, they know that. I mean, it's almost on an instinctual level. When somebody's a savvy, shrewd business person, they know these things. They know that they've got to, turn from what they've been doing, because what they've been doing, they know deep down inside, has not been benefiting the whole, but it's been benefiting them, okay, and their special interest group that they're involved in, okay. So that's the housing thing. I mean, it involves the lenders, it involves the real estate agents. So I'm not just picking on landlords. I'm saying all of us need to understand this. The innocent homeowner that just thinks how great it is that he can go buy a new car anytime he wants on his equity, and he's able to afford to pay it back, and he feels rich because he's got his house as his piggy bank. This is going to sweep across the country. Remember, the majority of Californians now are sucking lemons, hopeless, without any hope of being a homeowner. The best they can hope to do is just be a rent slave until they're too old, and hope that, the state has mercy on them and they're able to subsidize their cost of living beyond that, but, subsidize their housing and food and all this kind of stuff. Am I right? That's it. California has gone to the dogs. So if Donald Trump doesn't right away start in California, because this is where we're hemorrhaging the most, because this is what's going to sweep across the country, folks, and then across the planet. This is the New World Order's plans, or have already been installed in California, okay? Understand that. So, anyhow, I'm going to check my notes right now and see if there was anything important I wanted to talk about here. One last point about this whole landlord business. You see, it's really not capitalistic. It really is fascist, because now, if I'm not mistaken, if you're a landlord, you've got a 500 unit apartment complex, and you're only renting half of them, but the half you're renting, you're getting exorbitant rents on, then you can write off the empty ones on your taxes, because it's a profit. It's a loss of profits, right? So that's not capitalism, okay? That's not being competitive. You're supposed to fill your units, okay? That's what you should do, or else you should be spanked for that, not rewarded. And I guess, really, I guess I should finish up talking about all the different people that are threatened by an end of poverty, this whole idea of ending poverty. And this is really so biblically based, okay? That God is a champion of the poor. This is what it's all about. This is the way Satan has been oppressing people, is through the monetary system since the dawn of time. As far back as we can trace this thing, this has been the state of affairs. But know that the dubious warfare industry, consider the implications. Eisenhower warning the public about the fact that this is an industry, it's a business. And without war, they're out of business, rendered irrelevant. That's huge. Can you imagine? Wrap your mind around that alone, okay? That people are willing for their profits, so that they stay on top of this thing, that their numbers are good, and they stay, with the status quo, and that they're willing to start wars and send people off to war, innocent soldiers off to die in wars that they have no faith in. They don't believe. They know we're just instigated and provoked for profit. And children are witnessing this. They're seeing this. Do you think that God is not furious? God is furious with us, folks. I see that. I feel it. We've got to get that through our heads. That's why I say I'm scared of what it's going to take for people to wake up and understand what we're looking at here. Okay, God is not a paper tiger. Okay, His fury is a beautiful thing. Read about, I think it's in chapter 19 in the book of Revelations, how what's happening here is He's filling this cup with the fury of His righteous indignation. This is poetic. It's beautiful. And when that cup is overflowing, I think we're there. Some people are starting to see it, but a lot of people don't. I think the vast majority don't quite get it yet, that God is infuriated with us, and He's going to spank us hard. And that's what's coming down. That's what's coming down. We've all got to repent and say, God, help us, convict me. I want to be a good, upright, decent person. I want to leave a better planet. I want to be able to stand before you, oh God. And I want a clear conscience. I want a pure heart. Okay, I want to be somebody in your sight, not in the sight of the world. Okay, I just want to have clean hands. I want to do those things for the downtrodden, the dispossessed, the disenfranchised. Like all these protesters now out there. This is an opportunity for all of those people that consider themselves winners and, you know, and screw you, tough for you. I'm glad you lost and you or whatever. I mean, look, this is the time to reconcile and to help these people understand nobody needs to be threatened, not the status quo.